Welcome to Sudan in Ink, Politics, Protest, and Arts. Stumbling is not falling. Khalid Albaih chose those words, borrowed from Malcolm X. Stumbling is not falling. This is the title of an exhibition that Khalid held in New York, a gesture of solidarity with those risking everything for justice in his home country of Sudan. It is that sense of forward movement, of persistence through rupture, that runs through much of Khalid's work. It's also what makes his presence here so meaningful. Tonight, I'm delighted to announce that Khalid will be this year's Artist in Residence at Georgetown University in Qatar. Launched in the fall of 2023, the Artist in Residence program threads the arts and humanities across all aspects of university life and brings artists into close dialogue with students, faculty, and the wider community. During Khalid's time with us, he will lead student workshops on political cartooning, offer curatorial guidance, and develop an exhibition in conversation with Sudanese archives, both personal and collective. Khalid is one of the most prolific political cartoonists working today. Over the past 20 years, he has created and published thousands of drawings under the name Khartoon, a wordplay that joins cartoon and Khartoum, the capital of Sudan. His work has circulated widely, especially in moments of protests and unrest. A single image can go further than 1,000-word analysis, and Khalid immerses himself in that power. His residency is also part of an ongoing research project at the Center for International and Regional Studies, CIRS. This project is called Recollecting Sudan, Art and Culture Archives, and it explores how history is preserved and interpreted through creative practice. This work takes on heightened meaning in light of the ongoing violence and human suffering taking place in Sudan, realities that remain deeply felt by many in our community. This evening, Khalid will be joined in conversation by Dr. Susie Mirghani. Susie is editor and assistant director for publications at CIRS. She has deep ties to Sudan and offers a distinct personal perspective on representation through anthropology, filmmaking, and public scholarship. The dialogue between Susie and Khalid promises to open space for new questions about the role of art in times of upheaval and about what comes after. My sincere thanks to our new artist in residence, Khalid Albaih, Dr. Susie Mirghani, and everyone at CIRS for curating this moment with such care and insight. Now, please join me in welcoming Dr. Mirghani.
Thank you, Dean Masri, for the kind introduction, and thank you all for being here tonight. Under Dean Masri's leadership, the arts have been meaningfully integrated into many of the programs at Georgetown University in Qatar. Tonight, we are fortunate to have not one, but two exhibitions of Khalid Albaih's work. One is right here in the library on the wall behind you, and it was curated by GUQ students Aya Ahmed and Noon Al-Sharif. And they are here in the audience with us tonight, so if you have any questions, you can direct it at our students. And the second exhibition is on view at CIRS, and it's curated by Larissa Foreman, who is also with us here tonight. I also want to thank the library, not only for lending us this space, but also for their own curation, and especially to Mirta, who curated a book exhibition at the entrance. I don't know if you had time to look at it on your way in, but definitely check it out on your way out. It's not only books, it's DVDs and some small Sudanese items from my home and from Professor Rughayya's home. Incidentally, Professor Rughayya Abu Sharaf couldn't be with us tonight. She's not feeling well, but hopefully she will join us in future events. So after the talk, I invite all of you to have a look at our 2 exhibitions and to also join us for a small reception that is just down the corridor at CIRS. We will guide you there. So before we get started, just a few housekeeping notes. Please turn off your mobile phones. This is a request from us, or turn it on silent at least. A recording of tonight's talk will be uploaded to our YouTube channel in the coming days. And also, please sign up for our mailing list, for our events mailing list, or just give us your cards and we will do that for you. So, Khalid Albaih, please join me on the stage. Thank you. So, fun fact, me and Khalid go back a long way. We were both teenagers growing up in Doha. I won't say when, but a long time ago. And so me and Khalid have been friends for a very long time. So for those 2 people in the audience who might not know about your work, can you let us know, how did you get started? Like, how does one get started in political cartooning?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. كل سنة وانتم طيبين. I'm extremely honored and extremely happy to be here, and I'm extremely happy to see all the familiar faces. Everyone is here from, we haven't seen each other for a very long time. And since the war and some even since COVID. It's a really good chance that everyone is here tonight, and we're all going to be working together, inshallah, in this amazing conference put together by Susie and the team. And I think it's really going to be historical. Definitely, this is حاجة تاريخية. Just all the Sudanese creatives being together in one room. How does one start with political cartooning? For me, it was basically that I didn't know what else to do. As you said, we were growing up here in Doha, and the reason for that was basically also, like many people that end up in Doha, is because Doha and the Gulf kind of became the refuge for a lot of people from other Arab countries, because it was the safest and things were happening and people are building and still building and so on. So because of the political situation in Sudan after Al-Inqaz came to power, of course there was a huge brain drain that happened, and my father was one of that, and he came here. And I was, even before coming to Sudan, before coming to Doha, I was super interested in comics and reading comics, and I loved comics and everything from Ammak Tangu, Samir, Majid, and all of these things, and that combined the joke, that combined talking to children, that kind of became heritage in Sudan as well. And a lot of people are involved in it, that are now, our teachers, basically. I mean, Ustaz Sharhabil, the people that are working in Majallat Sabah and so on. And I came here, and that change of the situation, that, I was in Sudan, most people were Sudanese in my class, and different ethnicities, different religions, so everyone is Sudanese. And I come to Doha, and I'm in a class with like 21 nationalities. And it was just, mind-blowing, really, to be exposed to such an amount of different histories and different ways of looking at yourself as well. And I think what kind of got everyone together, and for me, kind of what made it really interesting, was the jokes. Because all the jokes were the same. About, about this president or about this president or about this president. And when they say a joke, I was like, oh, we have the same joke, you know? And it's kind of like, I realized that we're all going through the same thing. And this is kind of the idea of you know, solidarity. This is where it came from, is that we're all facing the same thing. And it was around the same time that my father started buying, or I don't know, maybe he bought it before, but I started realizing that we have these two magazines at home. واحدة اسمها صباح الخير, and the other one is Rosal Youssef. And they're both Egyptian newspapers, magazines that are political cartoon based. And they've been running for more than 100 years. And for me, that was an incredible, like, just bulb that went up, is that, you know, the mix between comics, which I grew up reading, and I was still reading, like all the translated DC and Marvel comics and everything that had nothing really to do with our world at all, because it was just translated. It didn't have to do anything with the content itself. To reading these political cartoon magazines, which were talking about things that we're all living, and talking about things that we also had to whisper when we talk about, like politics, right? Which was kind of a dirty word, yani, in the 90s. And this is where I got introduced to political cartooning. So I just started copying, basically. When I was reading comics, I started copying Batman and Superman and so on. And then when I found political cartoons, this is when I started also copying, you know, a lot of political cartoonists, and I still do.
Thank you. So a question that we get quite a lot is the relationship between art and politics. So right now, this is our year of Sudan. We're doing a lot of events on Sudan, a lot of events on the politics of Sudan, but because also I'm organizing some of these, my background is in the arts, I'm a filmmaker also. I like to look at politics through the arts, or at least the intersection of both. So a question we get asked a lot is, why the arts? Why, when you're talking about a conflict, why are you talking about the conflict through the arts? So this is just a broad question, like why is the arts important for talking about politics?
I think art is important to talk about everything, because art is in everything, and this is, yani, this divide that this is, you can talk about this through art and this you can't talk about through art is non-existent, yani. And it's a very narrow way of looking at things. Art is the voice of the people. It's the voice of the time. This is what's going on right now, and this is how you read time, from cave drawings to hieroglyphics in the pyramids. This is all news, right? To paintings from the Enlightenment era to everything, you know. And this is how we know what was happening. This is how we know that how people felt. And it continued until today with graffiti and with art and with movies, and this is the way to tell history. And when you alter that, or when you kind of force force the artist to tell a different history or not to tell history, then you're missing a huge part of how to tell your history. You're missing a huge part of how to identify your own identity, really. Where did this come from? What have we, you know, been doing for decades and years and centuries, right? Because this is what we're proud of. I mean, you know, the thing that we're most proud of, yani, in Sudan, and people we talk about, are these works of art, which are the pyramids, or you know, the different ways of building, or, you know, it doesn't have to be a painting, or it doesn't, you know, it's not about that, but it's really about how was the artist, how was the art scene, how was, you know, how were they involved in telling the story of the time. And this is what art is about. It's about telling the story of the time from the people, right? And that's why there's a huge difference between art and there's propaganda. Right? And art is truthful, or it should be truthful. And this is the main issue. Art is the voice of the people.
And sometimes it's the only thing that remains.
Exactly. Well, not in Sudan's case, because that's also now after what happened in the museum, which I think is a huge part of it, is that they didn't understand. Yani, a lot of these Janjaweed, they didn't understand what are they looking at. They didn't relate to it. And this is the main issue, is that if you cannot relate to your own history, you don't see yourself in it. So you could do whatever it is. You can burn it, you can sell it, because you don't see yourself in it. And this is one of Sudan's biggest curses, is that we do not see ourselves in our history.
So you do a lot more than just political cartooning, right? So maybe this is something that you started out doing, but I know your career has taken lots of twists and turns and lots of different projects. Can you tell us just about some of the other projects you do?
For me, the cartooning is kind of a sketch of an idea. And that's the nice thing about cartooning, is that you don't have to spend a lot of time in it. The idea, maybe it takes you a lot of time, but it doesn't need to look refined, and it doesn't need to, because it's a cartoon at the end of the day. It's a sketch, right? It's about that. And so that sketch could be the start of me thinking or the end of me thinking about something. And that something can grow to be something else, right? So sometimes it grew to be a full installation of taking this cartoon out of the paper into real life, actually making it. Like I did this cartoon called Camp, which was basically someone sleeping under a tent, and that tent is a passport. And I was commissioned by Amnesty International and for Refugee Day. And they're like, oh, why don't we do a cartoon exhibition? And I was like, yeah, great, but why don't we do something else? And that's the thing that I try to do whenever I have space, because at the end of the day, I'm counted as a political cartoonist, but I never actually worked for a newspaper before. And that's the main point, is that I never had an editor. I never worked for a newspaper. I don't know how that works. So I do it because this is the only way that I had. And it comes from need, really. And it comes from also being kind of innovative, of using whatever we have now. So when I was asked to do that, like do a cartoon, and then I was like, all right, why don't we do this? So I worked on making the actual camp with refugees. That came to Copenhagen. And later on, we did it also in Miami, in Florida, not Miami, in Florida. We also did it in Italy, in Milan. So I work with refugees, take their own passports, make it into a tent, and tell their story inside of that tent. So there's like an audio part of it. There's also the actual physical installation of a tent, and you're walking inside that camp. I did a short video installation as well. It's called Bahar, which means Bahar is a video installation that is about all the footage that we receive every day on our phones, right? The countless footage that we receive every day on our phones. Now it's the war, but before it was the refugees trying to cross to Europe, right, in 2016. And I used to get a lot of those videos. So after a while, the videos you become numb to them. And the people just become numbers, right? And the more the number goes up, is like what's going on now in Gaza, for example. At the beginning of the war, they're like, 20 people died. You're like, oh my God, this can't go on. Now they say 300 people died. Normal, right? And this is the point that we get to with just the normalization of this death. So what I tried to do with Bahar is put all these videos together, and I asked people online to send me videos of refugees crossing the Mediterranean. And we searched. I was doing a fellowship in Colby College, and had my students, and I asked them to collect as many videos as possible of refugees crossing, from online, from forums, from asking people, and I asked online as well. We got an insane amount of footage. And we found footage that's not bloody, that's not this, and because at the end of the day, we don't want to show only death. We want to show the trip, because for a lot of people in Europe, they don't understand that making that trip is just the first step for the rest of your life. And also the other part was that these refugees filming these videos when they're on those ships, which are sometimes they don't make it. So for me, it was, who were they filming this for? And it was like a message in a bottle, basically. And I got all of these videos, I stitched them together. I asked my friend Mohammed Araki in the US, to make the score for the film. And it's like an 8-minute film. But it's also kind of a glimpse into this other life. Now in my exhibition in Brescia, in Santa Giulia Museum in Italy, they wanted to talk about the war in Sudan and what's going on right now and everything. And I think what we miss most in Sudan, of course, is our homes. But we also miss getting together. يعني we miss sitting around نشرب القهوة مع حبوبة ونتونس مع حبوبة وكده. So I made a memory of that by creating an actual sofa and a very soft, cushiony sofa that's in the shape of a حبوبة متكية كده بتشرب فيه شاي. it's لابسة توب وكده وقاعدة. it's you can see it now on if you go on my Instagram or Facebook or whatever, you'll see the actual installation. And it was very successful because I made people feel what we're missing. القعاد جنب حبوبة، القعاد في رجلين، القعاد في ظهر، يعني and trying to explain to them يعني إنه how because of course again we're trying to also counter this image that the West has of us, right? And the first thing that I say also is like how powerful women are in Sudanese society historically, and that the Haboba always is like the manager of the house. يعني she knows where everyone is going.
قاعدة في الحوش.
قاعدة في الحوش مراقبة الناس. فأنت ماشي وين أنت حتعرف سبتين كده عرفت. فالحاجة دي everyone comes in and sits next to Haboba and it's a very comfortable couch and you just feel that hug. So it's all about again just translating the sketches that I do whenever I get a chance into something bigger and something that we can all feel.
Beautiful. I saw Bahar when it was here at Mathaf, right? You screened it at Mathaf. Beautiful work. Is that something that travels on its own, or what?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I have an exhibition, whenever I have a space, we do that. And here in Mathaf, I did Shahid as well. And Shahid also was a kind of an interactive piece about what's going on in Gaza right now. And the first question is always like, في السودان هسه في حرب يعني ليه بس تتكلم عن غزة? Why are you always talking about Gaza? Why are you not talking about Sudan? Because if Gaza is literally a live-streamed genocide, and people are still ignoring it, let alone Sudan, which is little media is coming out of there. If they don't get people to understand what's going on, people will never look at us. So it's an act of solidarity, but at the same time, it's a question. And Shahid was about stopping at 3 months of this genocide. And I got the list of the names of everyone that was killed in Gaza in the first 3 months, and all the images that we've seen come out of Gaza in the first 3 months, and placing you in the middle of that and making you a witness of what's going on, right? So the whole idea is that if we stop it, accountability, and which is also our problem in Sudan, that there's no accountability. يعني whatever happened in the past in Sudan, there's no accountability. Everybody just goes on with their lives. ما خلاص ما مشكلة وكذا نمشي لقدام نشوف اللي بيحصل. Very typical Sudanese يعني. And this is what's going on now يعني. It's what happened in the museum, in Sudan Museum. This should literally end whatever talking point Al-Janjaweed had. This is it. They finished our history. They literally destroyed our history, and there's no excuse for that. It should stop right there. And this is our problem, accountability. This is what Shahid is about. It's about accountability. It's about if we stopped this genocide at whatever happened at those first 3 months and said no, it would have never went on. But because people just keep scrolling and governments keep normalizing it, and this is where we are right now, 2 years in. So this is the idea.
You collaborate a lot with educational institutions, with human rights organizations, and I know that you started an artist fund. Is that specifically for Sudanese artists? Can you tell us a bit about that and how people can contribute?
So I started a few platforms because I work in museums. I worked here in the Qatar museums since I started working, basically. So I've seen how things work. I'm an artist, but I'm also a curator. I'm also a museum professional. I know how it works, which was very good for me, just to know the inner workings of things. And the main thing that I've seen as well is because where I am right now in my career is absolutely due to people that understand the importance of art, whether it's organizations or whether it's awards or whatever. Alhamdulillah, and I got supported by a lot of organizations, amazing people that give you the chance to actually do things because they believe in what you're doing for that and for the future. So I believe that there's a lot of Sudanese artists and creatives that are super talented that just don't have the same chance that I do. I am sitting here now, not because I'm the best cartoonist, absolutely far away from it, not because I'm the best artist, no. I'm sitting here because I speak like this and I went to schools and I know how it works. That's why I'm sitting here, So this is the main issue. How do I make more people that know how things work, right? The first step of that is actually supporting them to make more work. So this is where the Sudan Artist Fund came from. And it started after the revolution, and it's all basically crowd funded. So basically you donate and support an artist, and we support, you apply, and then we support one artist a month for $500, which is absolutely nothing, but at least it's enough for them not to worry about how to pay rent for this next year, for this next month. Because if we don't pay them, someone like Hamiti will pay them, right? So, and there are people that have to do that because it's a living. I have to feed my kids and I have to do, ما عندي طريقة أنا أمشي وين or I end up working in some production agency or I go work on TV or whatever, which is ما في حل So it's about supporting artists and the understanding, the importance of understanding how to support art. This is where the Artist Fund came from, and we worked for 2 years. We supported a lot of people, alhamdulillah, and it was a step in the way for people to understand that. But it was very very disappointing. لأنه I went to a lot of people in Sudan that have the means to support art and understand art, but when you go to them, they ask the same question. People are hungry. Is it really important to support art right now? And even international organizations, you go to them and they're like, I want to support artists. This is what we want to do. And they talk about policy and they talk about this and that. And I find it very selfish. You go back to your country and you go to museums and you go collect art and you support artists. You don't think that's important here? Why? And this kind of also went on to create the other project that I was working on, which is the Sudan Arts and Design Library.
Is this the rickshaw one?
The rickshaw.
Okay.
So I was working on that because when I was in Copenhagen, it was amazing. I never read so many books in my life because it was just available. You go to the library and everyone is like, بيزعلوا لو ما يقول لك الكتاب اللي انت عاوزه بيزعلوا. They literally just get really upset, and they're like, no, we can order it for you, we'll get it from Sweden, no problem. I was like ما للدرجة دي عاد. They're so excited about that, and the way that your open knowledge is so given to you, right? It changes your life. So I decided to why don't we have something like that في السودان. زمان كان دائما كنت بشوف ناس هم كانوا بتبدلوا المجلات. They exchange books, even old magazines. They exchange old magazines. في every neighborhood there used to be like a small kiosk or whatever that you can exchange and magazines or books or whatever, And زمان if you remember in Ateneo, when this started happening, people were so into the books and the open libraries ومفروش that they had to come and shut it down at the time. We are a country and people that are hungry for knowledge and hungry to do something else. We just need the chance. I remember right after the revolution, I went and I spoke to a lot of the people at the new government at the time. Like, just give me a building. And we can start something. We can start a nice arts and design library to support artists and they're like, yeah, okay, no problem. And then COVID happened. And then everything, of course, shut down. And then when we started again talking about it, it was the same thing. Like, whoa, why do we need a library right now? I don't think people need a library in Sudan. They need food and they need a policy and they need a better government. Like two things can't go parallel, They need both of them, right? So after that, it was the coup, right? And then we decided, okay, you know what? We don't want the building. Let's do a mobile library. And we made the competition online, and we got the winning competition was, the winning design was a rickshaw. A rickshaw that can allow you to have books, that can allow us to have screenings of films, to walk, to drive around. And the problem is, yani, for all of these projects is that when I talk to people, they always think it's political. It is, at some point.
You mean the books or the...
Yeah, any project that I do, they always think about politics and they're like, we're going to get in trouble. Yeah, it is, like, and it's not like that. Yeah, it's not, you know. So I'm like, no, you know, it's going to be really cute. You know, we're going to do like nice graffiti and photography workshops. So we're not going to do anything, you know. When we got the design of the rickshaw, it was amazing. And finally, we got some funding to build. We built 4 rickshaws. And we started working on getting the design books. You know, I think, from my own collection, I had 400 comics and design books that we got to Sudan. And then I was trying to work, we had the team. I was working with a friend of mine called Anan, who's actually working with me now in the Khartoon magazine, to start, you know, getting people to donate books and everything. And the day, I think 3 days before we're supposed to launch the project, Khalas in Khartoum, the rickshaws were built in Khartoum.
What do you mean built? Like, how were they modified?
They built the everything, the whole design and everything in Khartoum. Yani. There was a factory بتاع rickshaws. Yani. So everything was homemade, and you know, and the war happened. So I lost the books, we lost the rickshaws, we lost everything. Like, and inshallah, yani, I think it's a good end to this project is doing it again. Yani, we have to keep going with this project. And the last thing now, after the war, I started a magazine for political cartoonists that, of course, now don't have a platform. And we made it into kind of like an artist residence. Every cartoonist can stay with us for 2 months, and every 2 months we have 3 cartoonists. And it's been going great, so please follow us. Yani. It's called Khartoon Magazine online, and we're on all social media. And it's been really good actually, because yani, one of the main things, yani, one of the main issues that we have in Sudan before the war and leading to the war and now is the lack of information. There's a huge lack of information, and there's a huge lack of sourced yani, information, and there's a lot of fake news out there, a lot of fake websites that are made for people to continue that war and becomes propaganda. But this is an independent work from artists, from cartoonists who are yani, in Sudan or displaced out of Sudan. I think it's a great project. It's led by a very well-known political cartoonist in Sudan, Nader Jinni. He's the editor, and we've been working together now. We've been working for a year now. Yeah, please follow us and follow the magazine. They're doing amazing job to tell history day by day. Yani.
And most of this work is does it find its life online, like on social media?
Yes, it's online. I've been trying for the last 6 months to find funding to print a book about the cartoons, about the war for the last 2 years, and with stories. And because we have not only political cartoons, we also have comics, yani, from Sudan, you know. But again, you know, the interest, like, you know, do we really need art right now? It's really disappointing, صراحة.
I don't know how much you can share about the University of Copenhagen collaboration, but can you say something about that?
A journalist, her name is Sara Creta. She's Italian. She's been working in Sudan for a very long time. And she documented the massacre that happened in Ardamata in Darfur. And with the University of Copenhagen, under a University of Copenhagen program called the use of violent images. And they approached me to see what we can do with this huge archive she has of interviews and photos and investigations about what happened in Ardamata. So now we're working with a project. We went to Nairobi and we worked with 6 artists, different mediums, and some of them do research on trying to convert these images and like pool of data basically into kind of an installation piece.
Sounds very interesting. We have about 20 minutes for audience questions. I hope you'll join us in asking a few questions. There's mics that will be passed around. So please just put your hand up if you have a question for Khalid. Yes, at the back.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for the very interesting talk. I'm a student at HBKU University. I'm doing my master's in audiovisual translation. And since we're talking about Sudan and art, I had a question. I'm interested in, this is maybe an off-topic question, but it's still about art and Sudan and politics. I'm interested in doing a research on the Sudanese revolution and the art that came out of it and how that art kind of translated the events that happened, how the events and so on turned into music, graffiti, art after, etc. And I want to ask you, what do you think about that? What maybe advice or way I can, I'm having a hard time, connecting the two things. So I want to ask you about that, and thank you.
See those first two rows? First two rows here? These are your people, man. I'm sick for Nazi. First three rows, actually. And then Reem, Larissa, Ruba, Nazi Kulla, they all did a lot of research on that. But there's also a book, I think, about the murals. It didn't, I didn't see a lot of that book. And there's a book about that, but there's a lot of people you can talk to about that, And it's a good topic, and there's a lot of material, And there's a lot of documentaries now that are out. Connecting art and the revolution.
Up here in the front.
You mentioned that you were starting the library and gallery or art space in Khartoum before the war, and then it all collapsed when the war started. And the best end for that project is to start it all over again. Do you see Port Sudan as a new place or a viable place for continuing that project, or is it we must wait until Khartoum is stable to try this effort again? It's kind of like part one.
لا, I think it's now. Definitely, I think now is the time. لأنه art is not the idea that everything has to be stable for art is I don't think it's a correct way of looking at things. And the library is about also giving an outlet. It's not only about showing art, right? It's about giving people imagination. You need imagination to imagine a better future, right? Or to actually construct a better future. And it starts with seeing. I think we have a huge problem in Sudan of just imagining a better future. And this is kind of what the Kaysan did for 30 years, is that they did not let us imagine that there's something better than this. الشارع مكسر عشان الشارع مكسر أي شارع مكسر وخلاص that's how things are. If you talk about no, it could be better, they look at you like you're crazy, right? Like كيف لا ما خلاص ما كده أنت في شنو بتاع. This is the issue. They need to see that there's better ways to do things. They need to see that you don't need to be an artist, right? I had such a hard time calling myself an artist. I started drawing when I was 28, properly كده showing people what I'm doing, okay, 28 years old. Because for us, art and talking about art and it's so up there, it's like, oh, I have to go to school for this and كده. So it's not like that. Now I'm in Europe and every 12-year-old is like, oh yeah, I'm an artist, and easy, عادي ما في مشكلة, And it takes us a lot to say that about ourselves, again, because of we're not comfortable, with just doing things out of just nothing, because it's also, that's why you find a lot of designers, because design is about structure. Right? Art is about telling how you feel, doing what you feel, and everything. And there's always been this idea, very cartoonish idea of what an artist is, right? It's like this guy that has a long hair and talks things that you don't understand, which is kind of true, but it's like, it's what people think this is what art is, and it doesn't ما في إنه فايدة وهيعمل شنو هجيب قروش كيف, all of these things. No, this is the time right now بالحرب دي بالحاصل ده إنك أنت to offer people an outlet and to let them express themselves, because how else are we going to talk about this?
Thank you. Farad?
Thank you. Welcome, Khalid. We are quite fortunate to have you again, and quite happy with the residency that you will be sharing with us. I think my question is about the very concept of cartooning. I believe that it is not just a mere play on words. And I'm particularly interested to hear from you, like what kind of specific aesthetics, formal qualities that the way you produce your work in a cartooned way. If you could tell us about that. And that's maybe my feeling about your work. There is some deep, I would say, melancholia in what is typically a cartoon. I may be wrong, but maybe like if you could also tell us about the affects, the feelings of your work as well. Yeah. Thanks.
For me, it's anger. Yani I'm so angry about a lot of things, and sadly, the only thing I can do is draw. Yani it is kind of, that's the only outlet that I have, right? There's other outlets, but it's not going to be nice. So this is better, yani. And it's kind of like trying to put forward, this is what I think, and getting as many people to discuss with as well about this. What do you think about this? So it's really feelings, and I'm not saying this is what's going on and this is I'm correct and you're wrong. I'm trying to see what do you think, by pushing it a little bit, or by pushing you a little bit, or by pushing me even a little bit. So it's really about that. The style of Khartoon is very minimal, and that's because it lives online, right? It lives in, the internet is great, but it's full of junk, right? I mean, you have to swim through a lot of media, a lot of visuals, so for you to stand out, it's super hard. It's super hard to stand out among all of these things, right? And even the algorithms after that just made it even worse. So for me, that's why you notice most of my work is very simple. It's one thing in the middle, white background or black background. I don't use anything but very basic colors. And because the idea for me is to make you stop for a second, right? Because it's all about this, right? Everyone is like scrolling the whole time. And the style is also, I'm trying as much as I can for it to be something that grabs your interest, something that's close to pop culture, for example, something that's close to something that you can wear in a t-shirt, or something that you can also stencil, something that you can just remix very easily. And one thing about my work, everything you see is under Creative Commons license, which means that it's free to use and to remix and to share, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can take any of this work and you can do another version of it. Okay. That's the idea. That
you heard it here first. I never knew that. Okay, thank you.
So it's all about the idea of sharing and making it easier to share. So because we don't have that voice, and the internet gave us that voice. It made us travel when we don't get visas to go anywhere. So for me, it was about how do I get as many people as possible to understand what I'm trying to talk about. First step was the language. So I don't use a lot of language. Most of my cartoons are no comment, and that's because I wanted it to be relatable to everyone, not to put up walls, but to kind of open these borders, right? And the other thing is simplicity and kind of bringing everything down. Yani what I don't need, I take out, which is extremely hard and now it became harder because at the beginning it was, this is good, this is bad. This is the bad guy, this is the good guy. But as you understand more the politics and understand the nuance of things, you can't tell. And the other issue is that, cartooning was supposed to be kind of like a shortening of news, right? This and this happened, and then I draw about it, and it's one thing, and this is the news. But when the cartoons when the news become cartoons, because now we all consume media of like, this is what happened in Sudan for the last 100 years in 1 minute. Obviously, they're gonna miss something, So the news now became cartoons, really. It doesn't tell you enough because everyone just, again, wants to go on to the next thing. So it makes my job harder as a cartoonist because how am I doing cartoons about cartoons, right? So now it became more complicated. If you look at my the last year or 2 years of work, now I add more things. Before I used to just do black and white, very simple things, and it just talks about one thing. Now because there's a lot of things I need to talk about because the news is not doing its job of telling the whole story. No one reads long form anymore, and maybe they don't read long form anymore because they think that people don't want to know. This is the only way that we can get to people. So we're going to do everything in 1 second. And the shorter you make it, the better. And that you lose out in a lot of ways.
Thank you. The lady over here.
Assalamu alaikum. And thank you very much for sharing your insights, your experiences, and your hopes and frustrations. And inshallah, you get all of the funding that you need and then some. So I have 2 questions, if I might be so greedy. The first is that you mentioned earlier you haven't worked with an editor, haven't been affiliated with a magazine. So do you think that that's been more liberating or less liberating in your experience?
That's more what,
Liberating, yeah. And the second question is, once in a while, I like to be an impractical optimist, and you've spoken a lot about the frustration of not being able to gain support from places where you thought that you'd be able to gain that support. But would you say that you found that support in particular circles? And by virtue of that, what would be your one call to action for the group sitting here?
What was the first question again? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. It was a lot. I'm sorry.
Editor, yes. The editor part, I don't know. I really don't know. Part of the reason why I can't imagine myself working with an editor is because I really don't like people telling me what to do. This is what I think, and the thing is that when you talk to like big cartoonists, they do what they want to do. But until you get to that stage, you need to work your way up, right? Like everything else, I guess. So for me, I couldn't do that. Like this is what I think it's some sort of censorship, right? I don't know what's better. But I don't have an editor, but a lot of the people that you see here, I send my work to them. Like, what do you think about this? If I write something, what do you think about this? Susie, I send her stuff all the time. Like, what do you think about this? I read this, I drew this, or I wrote this, or whatever. What do you think? So these are my editors, my friends, and people that I trust. And they don't need to be in the same, they don't need to be aligned with what I think. I have people that I know that they won't agree with me, but I send them my work anyways. What do you think about this? And I hear what they say, because that's what it's all about. If I just want an echo chamber, which is now what socially, this is what social media became at the end of the day. It's just an echo chamber of, before it used to be, when social media just started, it was amazing, and that's how I got to a lot of people and started talking to a lot of people, is because you don't have to agree with me. But now with algorithms, it's basically, if you like my work, you already like my work. That's why you're here, and you don't get the opposite. And sometimes you get the opposite, but it's like the real opposite. It's like the opposite, right? And it's all about, like YouTube comments, you know, like really bad, you know. That's the editor's part. My call for action, right, is just support Sudanese artists, yani, and really believe in them, because yani, there's amazing talent, really, yani, incredible. And the more you see, and Rahim here, he has a Khartoon gallery, did an amazing work in no time. Yani. A lot of people, super talented. They just need an outlet. Basically, that's what it is. They need support and they need an outlet, you know. But we have the stories, we have the art, we have the different, yani, mediums. There's incredible talent in Sudan. Incredible talent.
We have time for one more question over here.
I wanted to ask you, obviously you're able to convey a lot through your work and all the different mediums, but I wanted to ask you, what have you not been able to convey about what's happening in Sudan? Sorry for the hard question.
Well, I don't know. I never thought about it really. I mean, for me, it's sad because sometimes you just feel like you're screaming into a void, right? Like you tweet and you do a cartoon and you do a talk and you write an article, and now I wrote this piece about what the museum and the importance of what happened to the museum, to the world, not only to Sudan, and that the world lost heritage, you know, and how important this is, and the fact that this was a big deal for like half an hour, and then the world forgot about it and moved to the next thing, and the audacity, of the Sudanese politicians that they don't even mention it, you know, that it's not even nothing. It's not. This should be a stop, what happened in the museum, and sadly, just like the Sudanese politicians, when I sent it to publications that I know people read, but they would not accept what I wrote. Because again, it's the same thing as the algorithms, right? So if I send it to the people that I normally write for, they'll accept it, and the people that agree with me will read it, and خلاص تمام, I just tap myself on the shoulder and great, okay, great, انتهينا. Lakin, what about the other people? Like, how can I get to the other side? And of course, they're like, oh, this is not really what we're interested in. I was like, what are you interested in? You call yourself a cultural magazine. This is about culture, and it's very important, and it's something that you're not talking about. They're like, oh, but we had two articles on Sudan. I was like, about the museum? About what happened? طبعا they get embarrassed وبتاع. Oh, we'll see, maybe. And literally, I edit it. Do whatever you want. Change it to whatever you want. Let's just talk about it. So I think things like that, in reaching to media, which sadly kind of became, as I said, a caricature really of what news should be, is extremely sad and frustrating. I'm talking to editors about our heritage. 6,000 years gone, not mush, gone. What wasn't stolen was destroyed. And you're telling me this doesn't fit your editorial. What's your editorial? I don't get it. What could be more important than this? If my writing sucks, no problem. Just change it, but talk about it. عرفتي؟ This is really, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. من الناحيتين, من an international level and from the national level as well. The fact that this just this went كده ده ما عادي. It's ما عادي. This should not be normal at all, that we lost 6,000 years of our history. This is not normal.
Thank you. We're almost out of time, but I think we have just one more at the back.
This question is related to what you've been talking right now. I want to ask, post-war, how will the future of art in Sudan change? And in terms of the artists themselves, do you think like there will be any change of the art in Sudan or no? Especially that the art that has been created, most of it has been lost.
You know, a lot of the artists lost their archives, and a lot of the artists lost a lot of work. You know, people like Rahimi lost most of his collection, from all Sudanese artists, and that's a huge setback. But also, it's a lot of the artists that I've met, whether in Kenya or my friends in في مصر ولا كده, most of them are like doing a lot about now and about what's going on. And this is the point of art. It's telling history as we go and telling our history from a human perspective. But again, if we don't care about art, our own art, and make a big deal out of our own art and classify our art and as important, no one would do that for us. So support Sudanese artists. Musicians are doing amazing right now. شوفوا الشباب, the hip hop guys are doing incredible because they have an outlet, and when they being in Egypt, put them, or being in Dubai, or being in Saudi, or whatever, put them in better studios, bigger audiences. They have sold out concerts now. I was in Germany, ولا ما عارفين, this kid, ولد سوري, he knows غنى soldier كلها, أغاني soldier كلها حافظة. He has nothing to do with Sudan. Right? So the talent is there. We just need to appreciate it. Us, ourselves, it starts with us. We need to appreciate ourselves, we need to appreciate our art, we need to appreciate how to support these artists and believe in them. لأنه this is the way that they make a living as well. If they can't make money out of art, they're just going to stop doing art. Right? So the future of Sudan depends on this. If you show them that you can support them, if they can support themselves doing art and telling history and advancing and doing more, this is where it's going to go. And by the way, we had one of the first art schools in Africa, right? And it continued to be one of the best in Africa, right? I think supporting them and pushing for them to do better, and there's lots of platforms now that are coming up to support Sudanese artists من ناحية buying Sudanese art, or there's a lot of like that. Right? Or just the Sudan Artist Fund, you directly supporting someone that you think is a great artist and you like, do that.
And I guess with the eventual return to Sudan, on a positive note, is a real hunger to make art in Sudan as well. Thank you, Khalid Albaih. Thank you so much. Khalid will be with us for the rest of this week and for some of the fall semester, working on projects with Georgetown University in Qatar. So you'll see some exhibitions in the future where we work with Georgetown and Khalid Albaih. Please join me in welcoming and thanking Khalid Albaih.